Welcome to the one and only Tim Tszyu.
G'day guys, how are we? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, June 19th, 2023, and no surprise of what we're going to be speaking about tonight. Of course, it was a big weekend for Australian boxing again when Australia's own Tim Tszyu had the first round knockout over Carlos Ocampo. So, of course, we're going to spend most of the night discussing the card. What did you make of the card? 4 of the 7 fights ended in the first round. But I'm not quite sure whether that was detrimental to the card or it just added to the card. I'm not sure. What do you guys think? I didn't mind it. I mean, it was all over by 3 p.m. Australian or Melbourne time, or Eastern time here in Australia. I think the main event was supposed to be starting around that time. And it was all over by 3 o'clock. So what a big weekend it was. So we're going to go through all the fights. Dissected. I really want to hear your opinion on certain aspects of the card. Again, what did you guys think? 4 of the 7 fights ended in round 1. I didn't send to mind it too much, but let us know what you're thinking. Old mate, Big J, how are you, mate? I'm not sure whether you're up there. I'm assuming you were. Excellent performance by Tim yesterday. Cemented his place as he's ready. Charlo, best Charlo night for round, or he'll find out. Yeah, well, he was pretty vocal, wasn't he, Charlo, again? I think he's got a real bee in his bonnet over Tim Tszyu, because I don't think he's used to having someone of his stature. Not necessarily, I don't think Tim's been the one gobbing off, but everyone else, the whole country of Australia has been out there, spruiking Tim's value to fighting Charlo. But worst still for him, is that the American scene is now starting to get a bit of support for Tim Tszyu. There's a lot of support for him on the social media sites yesterday and the boxing news sites. And, all for the praise for Tim Tszyu. And, I mean, first and foremost, I've always said it on here, and I think everyone says it. What a credit to Tim Tszyu that he hasn't sat on his hands. His fight was cancelled at Christmas in 2022. He's had 2 fights since then, and we're not even at mid-year. Well, we are technically, I suppose, a week or 2 away, whatever it is. So, big kudos to Tim Tszyu, and he got the job done. So, as I said, we'll go through the card and we'll get a few of your comments out the way there. So, Mike, Biggs Boxing, hello, Mike. Thanks for tuning in, mate. Salute to you too. Jules, what a weekend. We got a fight. Yes, it was a massive weekend, wasn't it? It was, what do we got there? Old mate, Big J. Oh, thanks, mate. Intro video. Thanks. I thought I'd better get something going. It's not sort of, rather than me popping up on your screens, I thought I'd get just a little something to whet the appetite, even though it's only 30 seconds or so. Big J again. Ogden and Sleeves, well, yes, I'm going to discuss that when we get to him in our list of fights. Oh, I wonder how he woke up the next day, Mark Schliebs. I think he might just rethink the whole, this next time, but we'll see. Hey, look, end of the day, he got caught by Rocky Ogden, who's a very, very good young fighter, by the way. So, but we'll discuss that. One more thing I want to get to as well. I've updated my Australian top 10. I only did it a week or 2 ago, but I've updated it. I want your opinion on it, so we'll do that a little bit later on as well. Now, I've got a lot of comments coming there through about the show, obviously. And welcome to you, Paul. I'll get your comment in a second there. Big shout out to Alex Winwood, who won the WBC International Minimum Weight title on the weekend. He didn't get a lot of attention because of this, the big fight yesterday, of course. But he had a 10-round decision over Anaras Gutierrez. Alex now moves to 3-0. And Gutierrez is 9-1. That was his first loss on his record. So unanimous decision for Alex Winwood there. Great young guy. I know I've said it the last couple of weeks since I've got back, but we met him over in the States. and just a really, really good quality young guy and super talented. And I've got no doubt this kid is going to be fighting for a world title at some stage. So as I said, big shout out to Alex. Also, Lucas Miller won the Australian, I think it was the Australian or Australasian, I think it might have been the Australian light heavyweight title with a unanimous decision over Reynold Quinlan as well. So good on Lucas Miller as well. They sort of got lost in the mix over the weekend. Paul Camilleri, how are you, mate? Tim gave him no chance, seen an opening and jumped on him. Card was good. We had a great day watching it. Yeah, no, that's cool. I think it'll be the general consensus that the show was a good one. Jules H, how are you, mate? 50-50 on the card. Enjoyed the Goodman and Larfield fights. Yeah, he's a good young fighter, isn't he? Both of those guys, Goodman and Larfield, so we'll get to them as well. Andy, how are you, mate? In the chat. Yes, hello to you too, mate. And yes, congratulations, Tim Tszyu. What a fighter. I did notice too, it was funny, I saw on Nikita Tszyu's, his brother, of course, his Instagram a little bit later on the afternoon, that Tim was out on the jetty or the whatever it is, doing a little bit of fishing a couple of hours after the fight. So, hey, you got to do whatever you got to do to wind down, I suppose. Geez, the adrenaline would have just been pumping, wouldn't it? But yeah, kudos to, again, Tim Tszyu and Nikita, who I thought did a great job at ringside too. We had the camera out and did a bit of commentary as well. And I've got a lot of time for Nikita. I think he's awesome. What a performance from Tszyu. Yep, that's it, Team Batman, 100%, mate. Big J stuck in Melbourne. What the hell are you doing in Melbourne during winter, Big J? Geez, I know you're a proud Queenslander. What the hell would you come down here when it was about 8 degrees here in Melbourne? Batman won me some good dollars on the stoppage and has Tszyu in the first 6 rounds paid on both, obviously. Yeah, well, I did see someone they put something up about, what was it? They had a bet and it was in the first 60 seconds. Now, if they had stopped it after he first got up, he would have won big time, but it went 70-odd seconds or whatever it was and didn't collect as much as he should have. But geez, it just seemed to be over like that, didn't it? It was just like bang, 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 bang. Yes, thanks, Tim. I think all of Australia would be backing you there, mate. Again, Batman, Tim is a fighter, improving all the time. Was very talented to begin with, yeah. And look, he's come so far. I promoted, I think I've said on this show before, I promoted his last fight before he actually went to No Limit. And from where he's gone to from there, I mean, he demolished a guy on our card. He fought an Argentinian and pretty much a replica of the fight yesterday, to be honest. But he's improved so much, and I think he put so much into bettering himself each performance. And I think, and if you know the team, they're a very, very close-knit team. They don't get too big-headed about the whole thing. They'll be straight back in the gym working on deficiencies and each fight getting better and better and better. And, I've got no doubt by the time he gets to Charlo, if Charlo wants to take the fight, by the way, it's still not guaranteed if you ask me. Not from Tim's end, of course. I think he'll be there tomorrow if he could. But I just get the impression that Charlo's not overly excited about taking him on. He talks a big game. Whether or not he wants to actually put those belts on the line in the ring, then we'll see. Jules, what do you got there, mate? Tim's physical development has been immense over the last 12 to 18 months. Kudos to his nutritionists and high-performance coaches. Yeah, he always just looks in great nick, doesn't he? Always looks like he makes weight fairly easily. Always looks healthy. Plenty of colour in the face, all that sort of stuff. Plenty of tone. Plenty of definition in him as well. So, yeah, I know he has I think pretty much a full-time chef. It'd be nice to have that, of course. Be able to afford that. But the whole team in charge, conditioning, nutrition, all that side of thing, of doing such a great job with him, and of course none of that works if you don't have a fighter with the attitude that Tim Tszyu has. And when you approach his profession like he does, and give himself every possible chance to succeed, well, you're going to be tough to beat. Frank Maselli, how are you, mate? Great content lately. Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. If you haven't checked it out, of course, there's the latest Watch Your Verdict. Which was, what was it? Frank can't even remember what. Oh, it was Canelo Triple G 1. I think this time I'm going to do. If you've got some suggestions, put it in the chat there. I was going to do maybe Oscar De La Hoya and Felix Trinidad. Probably a couple of Oscar fights we could do, but maybe Trinidad. I was going to do Manny Pacquiao, Marquez. Could have been 1, 2, or 3. Maybe Golovkin too. Let me know if you want me to do a fight there. And we are going to get the dream fights back soon too, guys. So I've spoken to Mike about that. Michael Tamura, that is. So, yeah, let us know if there's any dream fights you want to see as well, and we'll put it in the chat. And, of course, got a few things going on later in the year for a couple of trips, so I'll keep you up to date with that as well. Carl, hi mate. Don't think we've seen you for a couple of weeks. Hope you're well, brother. Sammy Goodman looks the goods. He certainly does, Carl. What a young fighter he is. Just an awesome young talent, and we'll get to him in a second. James scored at 116, 112. I probably had it the same, James, to be honest. I don't know. When they said it was a split decision, I must admit I thought it was going to be the American judge might have had it the other way, but he had Sam a comfortable winner, and of course Adam Hite from Australia had it as well. I might actually I'm going to put it in just so I can read the scores out where we go as well, guys. I'm going to bring the event up so we can go through it in a sec. All right, where's the event? All right, okay, so I'll get to that in a sec there, guys. Actually on the official scorecards there, James, it was 117, 111 with from Adam Hite, which I would agree with. Daniel Sandoval from the US had it 116, 112, it's the same as you. And Masakazu Marasi, 116, 112 for Alim. I don't think he's going to be getting any gigs anytime soon, James. Tim owns Detroit, Mexico, and Houston soon. Whoa, geez, you like talking it up, don't you, Carl? Yeah, I'm not quite sure he'd be very popular in Detroit, but or Houston, but I think the Mexican fans would love him. The great thing about Mexican fans is they would have respected Ocampo for going out the way he did, but also Tim Tszyu with that killer instinct, and he got the job done. Oh, Big J, you live here in Melbourne. I didn't know that, mate. I thought you were a Queenslander. Sorry, unless you're a Queenslander that's for some reason living in Melbourne, I apologise. Frank again, thoughts on Fenix saving Hamden fight? Yes. What did he say? A bit of Fenix privilege? Yes. And we'll get to that in a second as well. I'm just going to get through a couple of these comments. Batman looked devastating the way he just took him out. My favourite Australian fighter other than you. Oh, I appreciate that, Batman. I'm long gone though, mate. I'm yesterday's hero, unfortunately. But Tim Tszyu, yeah, Jizzy looked devastating. That last left hook, when he lined him up, he planted his feet, and you could just see it coming. I think the whole crowd was just like doing this at the time because they could see that left hook was just going to pretty much chop him in half, and he did. I got to say, I must admit, when I saw Tim in the mood he was in when he came out, I did pick Tim, I think 7th, 8th, 9th round or something like that. I thought he might have come out and fought the way he maybe did against Harrison, where he had a really good look at Harrison. Not so against Ocampo. He made a statement early. He obviously landed one early, rocked him, and then it was just bombs away, wasn't it? And but the minute or the second that Ocampo went back in a straight line with that chin up in the air and that left hand down, I was like this because I just knew it was coming. And of course, that right hand come over the top and chopped him down. And the left hook, he had no idea how to tie up, how to cover up, do anything like that. I know it's easy when you're from here, but he was obviously rocked and shaken, and it was all over the place and didn't even see the left hook coming. But look, Tim Tszyu just did exactly what he needed to do, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was in the gym today. He did say he was going to go back in. Wouldn't surprise me. I think maybe Glenn and Igor would have talked him out of it, but I got no doubt he would have been there if he could have. Batman again, Tim Tszyu, a superb fighter. Can't wait to see what's next. He just keeps leveling up. Yep, well, I think he's got the respect of everyone in the boxing world now, Batman. He in Australia, of course, he's had it for quite some time, but in the States and England, you name it, he is now you can pretty much say a household name in boxing households, that is. And a lot of people, as I said at the start of the show, now starting to get a little bit more vocal about Charlo. Hey, what's going on? You know, let's get this fight happening. And it wasn't before. It was more about, well, this guy's the mandatory. Give him his shot. Let's go. But now it's got to the point where fans are demanding this fight. And that doesn't happen that often, only with the upper echelon of fighters. But now when you've got American fans now saying, hey, give this guy his shot, enough of it, it's a feather in Tim's cap. Jamal will vacate like a little kitten. Tim runs 154. Carl, I wouldn't be surprised, mate. I really wouldn't. I hope I'm wrong. I really do, because I know Tim wants to take the belt from Charlo. He doesn't want to and he himself has admitted, or mentioned that he sees his belt as what it is. It's an interim belt. Doesn't make him the world champion. I know the Australian media love to say that, but Tim is a realist. His team are realists. His supporters are realists. We all know that it's the interim title, but I've just got a feeling that Jamal might just say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to vacate the belt. Whether he moves up or just gets rid of the WBO one, I don't know. Let's hope I'm wrong." Because, like everyone, I really want to see this fight and see what Charlo can do with our guy Tim. So we'll see. Shane, how are you, Shane? Welcome to the show, mate. Disappointed for the ref allowing himself to be influenced by Jeff, experienced fella too. Yeah, it was a shame. Yep. All right, well, we might get on to. I'll answer your questions as we go. Carl. Hey, Lyndon, I heard Ocampo was offered a movie deal after the fight, gone in 72 seconds. Jeez, was it 72? I thought it might have been a little bit earlier than that. Wow, crazy. And Tim owned Ocampo better than Errol Spence. Yeah, he did say he wasn't really worried about that, but I've got a suspicion that when he had him hurt in the first 20 seconds, whatever it was, all he had on his mind was getting him out of there. So, I think Errol Spence even would have to have taken notice of that and thought, wow. And Terence Crawford did, of course. He put out what he tweeted. It's this guy's dangerous, whatever he said. So, as I said before, not just the fans, but also the elite boxers over there now starting to take notice of Tim Tszyu. Big J, Queenslander that married a Victorian. Don't ever do that. Drains energy right out of you. I like it. I better not laugh at that because there's my wife there, Tara, who's we're not being pressed. I just laughed at that. All right, what else have we got there? Batman again. The KO was unbelievable. Neck snapping shot, knockout of the year contender. Yeah, it was unbelievable, wasn't it? Nath Mays, good card in Melbourne Friday night. Did you check it out? Camille Bella winning style. No, I didn't see it, Nath. I'm not sure. I'm assuming it was streamed, but no, I didn't see it, mate. I saw some highlights of Lucas Miller and Reynold Quinlan, but no, I didn't see that. And I did see that Camille Bella won. I'm not quite sure of the guy he fought. It was for a WBO Oceania, from what I heard. But no, mate, I didn't see the fight. Carl, Mike, big salute, brother. This guy. Thanks, mate. That's what I'm telling everyone anyway, Carl. All right, Paul. How could Campo have no idea to hold and box? He's very experienced. Yeah, well, I'm not sure, Paul. Maybe that first right hand upset his equilibrium or whatever you want to call it, and maybe he was just a bit. And look, Tim hit him like a tidal wave. When he had him hurt, it was just a buzzsaw. That's probably the only, blemish, not a blemish, but the only black mark I would put against the performance. I know I'm being really harsh here for what Tim did, but that was probably the only thing I could see. The only knock on Tim's performance was that when he got him hurt, it was just bombs away, and it wasn't a lot of looking for the shot, picking his shot. But Tim himself admitted afterwards that he saw the lights, he saw the red, and it was just let them go, and we'll see what happens. So, and obviously, it's probably not going to work doing that against someone like a Charlo, but I've got no doubt that even the Tim Tszyu you saw yesterday will be a completely different beast when he fights Charlo. He'll be switched on. There'll be no taking chances. It'll just be business. And I just get the impression, as I said earlier, that with Ocampo, he knew he had him hurt. He knew he couldn't hurt him back. And I just think it was like, all right, let's just go for the highlight reel knockout, which he got. So while it's a bit of a knock, it's not really, because I've got no doubt, as I said, that if there had been any danger at all, Tim would not have gone the way he did. So, and I'm sure his team again will look at that and look to improve that for the Charlo fight. Jules says, don't jinx it, Carl, with Jamal vacating. I've just got a bad feeling about it, to be honest. I hope I'm wrong. There is talk, by the way, a few murmurings. October 14th is going to be the date. Okay, for Charlo Tszyu. If it does happen, I know they're negotiating now, but that's the date I'm hearing, October 14th in Vegas. So, which probably makes sense. I think in September, of course, there's a lot going on for Aussies. Of course, they want a lot of Aussies to go over to the States, so to support it. But September, of course, is massive for all footy finals, whether it be AFL or league. So I'm not quite sure. Tim's team would probably want. I haven't heard it. No one's actually said anything to me, but I'm just assuming here that September being footy finals in Australia would prohibit a lot of fans going over, so don't be surprised if it is October, and the 14th probably sounds a bit right. And also, don't forget to, in September, Canelo will be fighting, might even be Charlo's brother Jamal. It's definitely not going to be Badu Jack now, but it could be whoever. So whoever he decides to fight, that's going to be the second week of September as well. So it just might be a little bit too much going on around that time. So mid-October probably seems right if you ask me. So, but we'll see, I suppose. Mike, Big Tszyu is the same fighter as Castano. All brawl, no patience. Yeah, look, as I said, Mike, yesterday you could probably say that was the case. I don't think you could compare Tim Tszyu with Brian Castano, with all due respect to Castano. And I know he has held the world title, but if you put them side by side, I think Tim Tszyu stops Castano inside 6 rounds. If you ask me, I might be biased being an Aussie, but I think Brian Castano is probably like Ocampo was yesterday, just tailor-made for Tim's sharp shooting, his power. Castano's not really the most adept at defence. He's not really a big puncher. He's not overly quick. Not real great footwork. Does everything okay, but you need to do everything exceptionally well if you're going to beat Tim Tszyu. So, yeah, as I said, mate, with all due respect, I don't think Castano rates with Tim. And Tim will learn from yesterday. I'm sure his team would have said, hey, Tim, that's great. Got the highlight reel knockout, but we cannot do that if we get Charlo hurt, because he's got a lot that can come back our way, even if he is hurt. So I think they'll learn from it, mate. And as I said, I don't think you can really compare Tim with Castano, because I think he's a couple of levels above. Big J, Charlo won't run those belts. Charlo won't run those belts. Are too precious for PBC. Especially if Crawford beats Spencer, moves up. Yeah, no, you're probably right, mate. Look, I hope you're 100% right, mate. We need that fight to happen. Batman disagrees with Mike as well. Tim is more patient when needed. A fantastic trade of his. Yeah, I think you've got to probably have a look more at his last fight with Tony Harrison. I think you could see he had a good look at him for 2 or 3 rounds. Picked his shot. Just broke Harrison down round by round by round. And then when he did have him hurt, if you looked at probably a little bit different in that fight. It was just picking the shots, and it was just bomb after bomb after bomb. And Harrison did really well, I must admit. They played it over and over the weekend with the lead up to yesterday's fight. But, I think, as I said, you'll see a lot more polished performance from Tim next time, because let's face it, he has to be. He has to be. And I just think he just saw Ocampo as just pretty much a sitting duck and just took the opportunity to get him out of there. So I don't think you can really judge him on that. Mick Tabor, great knockout for Tim, but he was reckless. Okay, so thanks for coming on, Mick. So obviously a few of you guys out there agree with me that he was probably a bit reckless. But again, Mick, I just think he just knew that Ocampo didn't have anything in return, and he just went for it. Yeah, I think there was a couple he missed by about a foot. It was just let them go. And as I said, I don't think that will be the norm going forward. And if you've watched Tim throughout his career, he never fights like that. He never gets reckless. He never throws punches from the stands. He's normally very, very focused and with his punches, very direct and pinpoint, I suppose is the word. So, yeah, I agree with you, Mick, that he was reckless yesterday. But as I said, I'm sure that they'll be working on that straight away, and you won't see that going forward with Tim. And, yep, Big J, you agree as well. Won't work against Charlo. No, it won't. Team Batman again. Tim has shown plenty of calmness and patience. You get them hurt, you just get it done and celebrate the win. Yeah. And look, I've got a suspicion with not just Tim's team, but I think Tim would sit down today, and I know afterwards he had a bit of a laugh about how wild and reckless that he actually got during that fight when he had him hurt. I would think Tim would be his biggest critic. I think he would sit down and look at that vision today or tomorrow, whenever he sits down and relaxes and watches the whole 72 seconds worth, and would look at that and probably be a little bit disappointed in himself. I don't know, but just knowing the type of fighter that Tim is, I just think he would look at it and go, yeah, it's great for that highlight reel, but I think he would be the first one to say that I cannot do that against someone like a Charlo. So don't worry, I don't think you'll see it again. Frank Maselli again. Thoughts on Mark Sleeves get TKO after pre-fight drama? All right, well, let's jump to that one now. We'll start with that fight with was it Rocky Ogden and Mark Schliebs. Now, look, I'm all for the young fellas. I said this last Thursday night on the Boxing Deep Dive show with Tazzy. Look, I'm all for talking these fights up. I mean, let's face it, these guys are all trying to make a name for themselves. They're trying to get noticed. They're trying to, whether it be social media or promoters or other fighters, wherever it might be, they're trying to get themselves noticed. So I don't begrudge Mark for that. And and from all accounts, he's a really, really good young guy. What I don't probably like is that these guys, when they go over the mark. So they will get a little bit personal. They'll start probably just saying some pretty ridiculous types of things. That's probably when it goes too far. And really, what it does is turn people away. I mean, look at social media before the fight and after the fight. Before the fight, everyone was saying, "Hey, can't wait to see this guy get chinned." I don't think that was the response that Mark Schliebs would have wanted. And then after the fight, of course, everyone pretty much pissing themselves laughing about what happened. So I don't think it really hit the mark of what Mark was trying to achieve. Now, I think Australians, probably a little bit different to Americans, or I think we're pretty much like the Poms, I suppose you'd say. But we like someone that maybe is confident in themselves and as I said, does talk it up just a little bit. But shit, if you talk it up, you've got to be able to back it up. And he didn't do that yesterday. And to get knocked out in one round, I think he would have woken up feeling a little bit embarrassed with Mark. But as I said, I don't begrudge the guy because, as I said, he's trying to get some interest in his fight. This is a 6-round prelim fight on the undercard. It was on the pay-per-view. I get it. But I'm not that he's probably watching this, but if I was saying to Mark, talking to Mark, I would say, hey, Mark, have confidence in yourself. Let's get some interest in the fight happening. I know a lot of people were interested in the fight. The problem is that they were all interested in it because they wanted to see him get knocked out. I know that works for the Mundines of the world, but it doesn't work for a 6-round prelim fighter. He's trying to get himself maybe on more bigger cards, get some more big fights. And I just think he went a little bit overboard in the lead up to his fight with Rocky Ogden. And unfortunately, Mark or anyone else that's out there watching that might think that way and think that's the right way to go, the boxing ring is the great equaliser because all that talking and everything else means nothing when you get in the squared circle. And unfortunately, the only guy that can save you in there probably is the referee and maybe your cornerman. That's probably about it. And as I said, if you talk it up, you've got to be able to back it up. And as I said, I think he would have woken up just a little bit embarrassed today. He did put a really good. That's what I was going to say. He did really put up a really good post on. I think it was Instagram. He congratulated Rocky. Wasn't his day, which was a massive understatement, of course. And I just thought to myself, geez, if only Mark had probably behaved a little bit that way in the lead up to the fight, maybe he would have got a lot more props or a lot more support from the fight fans out there. As I said, I thought he was humble. And he told it the way it was, and that's all fight fans want to hear. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you're going to do to win. We want to hear, as I said, a little bit of banter each way. But when you're actually starting to get personal and starting to make pretty silly statements, you get what's coming to you. Unfortunately, as I said, the boxing ring is the great equaliser. Nowhere to hide. And all the, it was a karma or whatever you might want to call it, always comes home to roost when you're under the bright lights. So, Mark, as I said, you're great or very, very good young fighter. Let's hope you can learn from this and come back again. Not that there's any fights out there. And let's not forget, he went up 2 divisions, but Rocky Ogden, a great young prospect, Frank. And he moves to 6-0. Mark Schliebs drops to 12-2. So another thing with it too, I was actually surprised. Apart from trying to get attention, that sort of stuff, why you be so vocal when you've been out for 2.5 years? I'd be just thanking everyone for the opportunity, and just focusing and trying my best to focus on the opponent, and a very, very good opponent in Rocky Ogden. It's not like he's fighting anyone over there. Rocky Ogden is a very, very experienced young guy who can fight. So I'm sure he would have learned the hard way. Frank, tell me if I'm wrong. What have we got there? I'm reading a couple of comments there. Back to Tim. I think Tim would give Castano a beating. Yes, I'm with you there. Batman, as I said before. Mike Biggs, you agree? Tszyu definitely stops Castano easy 8 to 9 rounds. They have similar styles. Yeah, as I said, mate, I think might even be earlier than that, but you know where I'm going. Mick says, spot on, Big J. He was the same against Harrison at times. That's being reckless. Carl, sorry guys, I'm just catching up a little bit here. Tim ain't no dummy. He knows Jamel is a real deal. Tim's chin way better than Castano. Triangle theory don't work for this fight. No, it doesn't, mate. I agree. Batman did exactly what he should have done to get the world take him talking. Put him out brutally and early. I think I got the gist of it there. Exactly, Batman. And look, if he had just went out there and boxed him for 4, 5, 6 rounds, and then maybe put him away later in the fight, everyone would have went, yeah, that's great. You were supposed to do that. But to go out there and really make that statement, and again, which is why he was maybe a little bit wild towards the end, he got the attention of the Crawfords and Spencers and all these guys out there. So it was a job done. So I don't think he could have done any more. Carl says, Tim even said he was throwing haymakers. Yeah, he had a bit of a laugh about it. And as I said, Carl, I've got no doubt he would have reviewed the fight afterwards or when it was today or whenever it was and thought, yep, I've got to be better than that when I fight Charlo. And I just don't think you'll see him do that again. He had nothing to lose. Let's face it. Ocampo couldn't hurt him. He was rocked. The only thing that was going to happen was he was going down, whether it was this round or the next round. So Mike Big says Gorshay dropped Tszyu with the jab, and Charlo was one of the hardest jabs in boxing. Yeah, look, you're right, Mike, but look, I just think in that fight, it was just a shock knockdown. It happens to the best. It wasn't like he was rocked or anything. Caught him off balance. It was just a stiff jab in the first round. Yep, Charlo has got a stiff jab. I don't think you're going to see Tim come out like that because that was his first international fight, first American fight. So again, he wanted to make a bit of a statement. Probably got a little bit too excited in the first round and got caught. Did not lose another round for the fight, Mike, and really made a mess of Gorshay in the end. So, but yeah, I agree. Charlo has a hard jab, but I wouldn't be sort of comparing the two. A Big J, I reckon after that dog bite, Tim turned into a werewolf. Well, what was in the bite? Maybe you should change from the Soul Taker to the werewolf. Not bad. He does need a bit of a nickname. I don't like the Soul Taker, to be honest. I understand it's good for everyone to refer to him as the Soul Taker, but he needs a nickname. What has he got? I don't mind the werewolf, to be honest, or just the wolf, whatever it might be. But geez. Yeah, the guard dog, the junkyard dog, whatever it might be. But geez, whatever he got bit with by that dog is, turned him into one himself. Yep, Mikey's Tszyu is a solid fighter though, 100%. Carl says, Mike, everyone said Tony had a great jab, and how did that turn out? Well, he landed a couple of jabs early. That was the thing, Carl. He actually, the first round, I actually thought he won against Tim Tszyu with that. I think he had a really good stiff jab. The problem is that after round one, Tim went back to his corner. There were some adjustments made, and that was pretty much about it for Tony Harrison. And that, again, is a strength of Tim Tszyu and his team, that they can make these adjustments during the fight. And that's why Jamel Charlo's got something to think about. Shane says, might have been a bit wild, but Campo was seriously hurt from the second right hand. Yeah, he was definitely hurt. What do you make of Tim's mum going into the change room, guys? I thought that was really nice. She didn't get in the ring. She didn't get in for all the fanfare. He probably couldn't fit in the ring with all the people trying to get their heads on TV afterwards. But she went into Ocampo's change rooms, and I thought it was pretty touching because he was in tears at the time. There'd be nothing more humiliating, you wouldn't have thought, for someone at that level to be stopped in the first round, away from home, pay-per-view TV, all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, really felt for Ocampo. And as I said, I thought it was great for his mum to go in and give him a hug and tell him it was all going to be okay. Batman, there was a moment he got a bit wild, but soon put his hands in a high guard and shot a perfect straight to put Ocampo down. Great fundamentals is immediately what he went back to when the next phase. Yeah, no, next phase of his attack. Yep, no, I agree, mate. Carl could be rabies. I think I'm with Big J though. I reckon he did turn into a werewolf there at one stage. Jules says, Phil for Mark Schliebs had a lot going on outside the ring. Agree 100%. Lyndon could see what he was trying to do, but got carried away. Shame that everyone was against him. Yeah, look, from all accounts, he's a really, really nice young guy, Jules. And that's the thing. And he just didn't need to do it. And look, probably me, I don't know whether I'm getting old or whatever, but I don't like the way Australian boxing, and not so much world boxing, it's probably almost always been the same. But I don't like the trend of Aussie boxers at the moment of thinking they have to do this to impress people or get people watching. Aussie fight fans, they want to watch good fights. The whole American type of thing of talking it up and yapping and the push and the shove. You see it already. I said last week on the show, you can almost get the script out. All right, point one. They get on the scales and yep, they put their hands up and puff the chest and do everything else. All right, that's the first phase. Phase 2, they come together. They start talking to each other and everything. Yeah, okay, that's that one. Phase 3 might be a bit of push and shove. They get held back by their handlers. The fourth one is the handlers and the hangers-on or wherever it is all start to go off at each other. And then they're all, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It gets tiring. It really does. I just don't think Aussie fans, we don't need it. We're all a little bit no frills down here, I think. And yeah, the only one he sort of hurt was himself, I thought. And the other thing I don't, again, call me old, I don't like is creeping into the boxing is the post-fight commentary or the interviews where it's just F this. Why? Why do you have to say, I know the adrenaline's pumping and one might slip out, but it's almost like a measured approach. And I don't know, is it a UFC thing that's starting to creep into boxing? Again, call me old, whatever it might be. I just like fighters to be humble, respectful. Yes, let your emotions run wild a little bit, but the repeated swearing, I personally don't like it. What do you guys think? Maybe I'm just an old fuddy-duddy, I don't know, but I just don't remember. In Australia, I don't remember Jeff Fennick or Jeff Harding or Lester Ellis or going way back, of course, to Johnny Famish, Lionel Rose, you name it. I don't remember them guys, Danny Green, Jeff Horn. I don't remember seeing internationally, Ali, Hagler, Duran, you name it. Look, they didn't need to carry on like that. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. But that's the interviews. But for that, Jules, I just think Aussie boxers, please, especially if you're just an undercard fighter, you're on the card, that's great. Do what you got to do, but just keep it humble. I don't know. I've gone on about that enough. I think I am getting old, getting a bit grumpy, I think. Shane says, I think Schliebs knew he was going to get waxed. If he didn't, he's the only person in the country that didn't know. Yeah, well, I must admit, Shane, especially because he'd been out the ring 2.5 years, Rocky Ogden's a really, really good young fighter. And when he started calling him a rookie and I'm going to take you to school and all this sort of stuff, well, Rocky Ogden, he's had a very, very, from what I've seen, a very, very distinguished Muay Thai career. So the guy can fight. They're tough guys. They're tough fighters. So even though it only had the 5 pro fights, it probably had probably 100 Muay Thai fights. So I don't understand. At the end of the day, as I said, Shane, sometimes you learn the hard way, and Mark did learn the hard way in this situation. But anyway. What's your thoughts on Sam's performance? That was to Shane. I'll answer it though. Look, I was really, really impressed, Carl, with Sam Goodman's performance. I must admit, I wasn't overly confident that he would be able to beat Reis Alim. I'd seen him a few times on TV, YouTube, whatever it might be, and I actually thought that he might have a little bit too much for Sam. But he really impressed me. I must admit, watching in the first round, I thought my fears were about to come true. I thought Alim really looked strong. He looked confident. He threw some really good punches, caught Sam a couple of times. I thought he might have been a bit too strong. But to Sam's credit, he recalibrated, refocused, made some adjustments as well. And I thought pretty much won 75% of the remaining rounds. And I thought it was probably obviously the best, I think, performance he'd put in, and now puts himself in line for the IBF Super Bantamweight title held by Marlon Tapales. Sam Goodman 15-0 now. Reis Alim drops to 20-1. Carl again, if Charlotte finds another excuse to think Brian Mendoza is next. Charlo, I'm gathering you're saying there. Yeah, I'd love to see that fight, Carl, with Brian Mendoza. I think Tim, even though he looked obviously great against Fundora, Mendoza I'm speaking of, I think that Tim Tszyu has more than enough tools to beat Mendoza. I really think, look, for me, Tim Tszyu is the undisputed, if you can call it, number one challenger to Charlo, and regardless of who's got whatever belts and interims and whatever they are, supers and franchises and all the rest of it, end of the day, Jamel Charlo is champion. Tim Tszyu is the number one challenger. So if Charlo moves up or vacates, then Tim, I think, becomes the man. And, yeah, I think that he could reign for a long time. I've got a feeling, though, if Tim did fight for it and win it, he might only have a couple of defences and move up. Some big dollars to be made at middleweight as well, I would think. Carl, so Shane, sorry, replying to Carl, thought he boxed beautifully. In and out distance control made his opponent look awkward. 8 at 9 rounds to 3. Yeah, I probably had 8 rounds to 4, I think, Shane, but certainly not going to argue with 9 rounds to 3. Just a really, really good performance by Sam Goodman. And, yeah, he's, what did he call him? Mr. Mandatory now. So, and I think he beats Marlon Tapales, no problem as well. Well, I won't say no problem. Of course, he's a world champion and a very decorated world champion. So, definitely going to be a tough night for Sam Goodman. But I would back him to beat Marlon Tapales. Batman again. Tim just walked out, got it completely fine and gave Gorshay a beat. Oh, sorry, I was talking about the Gorshay fight. And I think I'm with you, Jules. It wasn't a jab that dropped Gorshay. I thought it was a counter right hand that Gorshay dropped Tim with. I think it was Tim jabbed and he come back with that counter right hand. But I don't know. I haven't watched it since the day. But I'm with you, Jules. I tend to agree that it wasn't a jab. It was that counter. Batman, I knew Tim wouldn't give Harrison room to fire his jab. Tim stopping Tony was a guarantee in my mind. Yeah, I didn't think he'd stop him, to be honest, Batman. I thought he would beat him on points. I thought Tony was... I know he's been stopped a couple of times. I just thought his experience might get him through. Tim might be instructed just get the win and, that's all we need to do. Lot riding on the result, of course. But when he did get him rocked, he got him out of there. There you go. Batman, you agree. Jules hates exactly. It was a straight right. Yep. We're not going mad. Carl says Tim has the ring IQ of his old man. He's a smart fighter and best Australian bar none today. Best Australian, okay. Well, I do have him as number one on my pound for pound list in Australia. I'll get to that a little bit later. So, but yep, I'm with you there, mate. Robbie Jones, how are you, mate? Thanks for joining in the chat. Tim's proved himself. Didn't Bailey drop Tim also? Bailey, no, that I think was that Randall Bailey. I think that was Jeff Horn. You might be thinking of there, Robbie. But like I said, Tim keeps getting better and learning from his mistakes. Yeah, mate. As I said before, I think Tim is his biggest critic. And I think he would sit down and go through everything and make sure that everything is tip top for the Charlo fight. And I think I can't remember who said it. Might have been Jeff Fennick said afterwards, and I totally 100% agree. And we'll get to Jeff in a second, by the way. He was up to a bit yesterday, wasn't he? But when he said it was almost a blessing in disguise that the Charlo fight got postponed. And I mean, at the time, we all thought the sky was falling. We thought, oh, here we go. But to be able to get that win over Tony Harrison, to get the cred, but also the rounds in, the belief. I know he's probably had belief anyway, but to get Tony Harrison out of there, remember, this is a guy that beat Charlo. I know it was 5 years ago, whatever it was. He couldn't get him out of... no, he did stop him in the second fight, but to get him out of there a little bit quicker and to do the job on him that he did, I thought was great for him. And then to have just a total blowout in this fight, to get the confidence sky high, I'm with Jeff Fennick, and that I think it's worked out beautifully for him. All we need now, though, is to get Jamel Charlo in the ring. So, Jamel, if you're watching, probably not, but come on, let's get it cracking. Batman says, Carl, agreed for me. Tszyu is the number one Australian fighter today. Well, I agree, but there's a little bit of competition there. There's, of course, Jai Pataya and Jason Maloney, George Kambosos, if he wins next month. So, I think Tim still is at the moment, mate. Andy says, still Tim the Tiger. Yeah, not a bad nickname, Tim the Tiger. Great way to sell the Charlo fight, the Lion versus the Tiger. I love it, Andy. Great nickname there, mate. All right, James. Does Winwood go in top pound for pound. I'm really glad you asked that, James. No. I put him in, I took him out, I will admit. I think, I just don't think you can put someone in after 3 fights. As good as he is, at minimum weight, though, maybe 3 fights is equivalent to 9 fights. I don't know. There's not that much competition there that there is in the heavyweight divisions. You won't need, a dozen or 15 fights to get a world title shot. This guy could get a world title shot in 6 or 7 fights. And he's that good, I think. And the competition at that weight, yeah, it's good, but not great. So, but yeah, to answer your question there, James, I couldn't squeeze him in into my top 10 after 3 fights. But geez, I got enough flack for putting Justice Honey in after 6, I think, or 5 or 6. But anyway, maybe next time. Carl says, Tim walks straight through that jab of Tony's and he'll do the same with Jamel, but he'll take his time and needs a Bivol versus Alvarez performance to win a decision against a PBC shit show. Yeah, look, it is the one thing going against Tim, isn't it, Carl, that, is he going to be up against the judges? Look, I'm not sure. Time will tell. Let's hope not, but he's going to have to beat him decisively. But, yeah, well, Charlo did get a draw against Castano in their first fight, even though I thought Castano won. So who knows? But he's going to have to make make sure of it, Carl. Dan says, couldn't agree more about swearing. Thanks, Dan. I'm glad I'm not the only one that's getting a little bit old. Look, I just don't see the sense in it. I really don't. I understand sometimes one can slip out. I know, especially Tim's last fight, with his name and all that sort of stuff. And look, he was obviously super hyped. It was his biggest career win. Obviously, that was a lot of pent up frustration from Tim's end. But now, when you've got the fighters who are just saying it in every day sort of conversation, I don't like it. Just me. Paul agrees with me as well. Tim swearing is a bit of a turn off. Different generations. I think, yeah, maybe you're right, Paul. I just still can't get around it that the UFC element is just starting to creep in to, and that's probably got a lot to do with what happens at the press conferences now and the weigh-ins. Yeah, look, I don't know. As I said before, mate, it's almost to a script. Maybe our fighters have got to stop watching the Americans so much because it's all just tick, 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 tick. Got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. Anyway, maybe, it's different generations. Hey, Paul, for what it's worth, I like my generation. I don't like this new stuff, to be honest. Carl says he thinks Sam won round 7-12 convincingly. Yeah, look, I thought, as I said, Carl, I thought Aleem won the first round clearly, I thought. The next was 5 rounds. Would have maybe split, so maybe 3-3. And that would then Carl winning pretty much the rest. Sam winning pretty much the rest. It would make it around 8-4 or whatever it works out to. And he says, shout out to all in chat and watching later. Please smash the like button. Yes, make sure you smash that like button, guys. Getting a lot of repeat viewers, which is good. I know it's probably not the greatest night to do it live on a Monday night. A lot of things going on, but we are getting a lot of good numbers that are watching it later. So thank you to everyone, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching later, or listening on Spotify, which we get a lot of listeners there too. So thanks very much for that, guys. Carl says, I love the swearing. It's marketing 101 in boxing these days. Well, I don't agree, Carl, but I respect your decision, mate. Your point of view, each to their own. Dan says, and yes, Tim, we know you know him. Carl says, yes, he's a serious contender at 122. That's Sam Goodman, of course. Yep, more than a contender now, mate. He's the mandatory challenger for the IBF title. Going to be hard to beat, I think. Magpie Hotspot. Charlo's going to smoke Tim. And still, well, Magpie, that's your priority, mate. I respect your decision. Obviously, you're an American there. Isn't that great, though, that now at least we've got a little bit of banter going between the two countries and fans. Look, Magpie, I don't agree with you, mate. But I respect your view and your opinion. But we're going to back our guy to get the job done against Charlo. Thanks for joining anyway, Magpie. I'm not sure whether you've watched the show before, but thanks for joining in, mate. Frank Maselli says, Tszyu win just shows the Rafa is levels below. Yeah, I've got to agree, Frank. We'll see what Michael Zarafa's made of when he fights for the title later in the year. Is it Lara and Garcia are going to fight? I would think it's a tough one to see who's going to win that one. Still can't believe Michael, after being ranked number one by two organisations, isn't fighting for either. But anyway, that's a different story. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about Michael in the next couple of months. I'm sure there'll be an announcement pretty soon, and we'll see what he's got. But look, I'm with you there, Frank. Michael, I think, is probably on the verge. I don't think he's anywhere near the upper echelon of the top fighters in the world, even at middleweight, even though he's ranked in the top couple in those divisions. Probably top 15, not so much top 10, if you ask me. But I don't think he's anywhere near Tim Tszyu. Just, again, my opinion. Carl says Sam's got the dog in him to go all the way. Yeah, or to go a long way. Yeah, he has, mate. He showed me the ticket yesterday. He had the cut. You know, I think it's a big, or not a big, but a really good, strong American fighter. And we know they don't muck around over there. So, yeah, really, really good win by Sam. Batman says, so the true improvements in Tszyu since like 2020 have been amazing. Yeah, they have, mate. He's improved so much. When he had his first fight, actually might have been 2019, he fought Joel Camilleri. With all due respect to Joel, not really at world level, but he's a really tough, awkward type of fighter. And Tim struggled with Joel. He did. Joel probably gave him the best fight of anyone around that time. Because then after that, he beat Dwight Ritchie, the late Dwight Ritchie. Rest in peace to Dwight. And then he stopped Jack Brubaker pretty easily, and whoever came after that. But Joel gave him a really good fight, and I don't think Joel would last a distance with him these days, which shows how much he's actually improved. Carl says, Magpie, put down the see-through didgeridoo. To keep the banter going there, guys. All right, James, does Sam Goodman get to top 5 pound for pound? You're on this, aren't you? No. No. I'm sorry, James. I still don't think, and I know. Look, we'll get to that we'll get to that in a second. But no, I don't think he's quite at inside the top 5, James. Although he has gone up a fair bit to what he was. I think I might have had him at number 10 last time out. We'll get to that in a sec, though, James, and you can have your say. Jules says, I'm in the minority with Carl. I love the trash talking and swearing. I tune in the presses like I used to tune into the Judge Judy after school. Look, each to their own with the presses and the press, the weigh and all that sort of, Jules, and that's fine. That's all good. But I don't like it in the ring afterwards. As I said, I know they get worked up and there's a lot of adrenaline in there. I just cringe when I hear it. Again, I'm getting old. I know that. I just don't like it. But I understand we're in a new world. And it is what it is. Big J says, Grandma always said swearing is an example of a poor vocabulary. Yeah, well, Grandma knows best. The AFL grind. Okay. The AFL grind. Okay. Charlo to destroy your Australian boy within 1 round. Going to get humbled. The AFL grind. Gee, your boy. So do you like it? Is this what we're referring to there? AFL is do you watch AFL? I'm just a bit perplexed by an American, I'm assuming, that likes the AFL. I think, are you trying to get us worked up a bit there, mate? Saying he's going to destroy Tim in 1 round? Come on. He's going to get humbled. That's your opinion, and that's fine. But come on, 1 round, mate. Come on. Let's get serious here. I'm just waiting for the comments to come about that one, the AFL grind. Lyndon, love you. Where else we've been after a hot day of concrete, mate? I really appreciate it, mate. I know you've been one of the the OGs. So, mate, I really appreciate that you and everyone else spends your Monday night with me here, because I just love to talk boxing with you guys. Hence the title. The AFL grind. Here it comes. I imagine. Carl says you're funny. Tell the LDBC no excuses when the little Aussie wipes the floor with your boy. Yeah, let's get it going there, guys. Let's get a little bit of the banter happening now. It's good. I can just imagine what it's going to be. Can you imagine, like, if it does happen, and as I said before, it could be October 14th in Las Vegas. If all the Aussies go over there, it's, I don't think we're as bad as the Poms. I've seen the Poms in action. When I say it's bad, it's probably not as good as probably what I'm trying to say. The Poms are the best at it of anyone with the banter. I'm looking forward to seeing probably 500 to 1,000 Aussies over there. Probably might even be more. Who knows? Over there, getting up the Yanks, and yeah, I reckon it'll be good. But hey, each to their own, Carl. They can have their opinion, but let's see. There's only one way to find out. The little Aussie boy, yep. Batman says, great fight. Charlo and Tszyu for me is the best fight. It's one of the best fights in the sport. I will definitely be attendance wherever it takes place. That's awesome, Batman, because I think you're from the UK from memory. So if you to go over to the US to watch this fight is amazing. Now it is October. Well, hopefully I'll get the leave pass to go as well. But it should be just an awesome time. And I think you probably don't know this, Batman, but some of the Aussies will. That there's talk that, especially the league supporters will realise this, is that next year they're going to fixture a double header in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium there where the Raiders play of 2 league games. I'm not quite sure who they're going to play. I think it might be South Sydney and someone. I know there's been talk about that. I don't really know a lot of the players, guys. I'm really sorry about that. But they did, I think, is it Latrell? They spoke to him saying he hopes it's South Sydney. Double head over there, and to have a UFC fight and an Aussie boxing fight. So we might get, is it Volkanovski in the UFC and Tim in the boxing, and have it all in that same week. How good would that be? I think there'll be a lot of Aussies getting to leave past that week, and I'd love to see. I don't really have ever watched a league game, but I'd go for sure if that was the case. So maybe that's the point, trying to get non-supporters like me to get into the league spirit. Who knows? Carl says, would you agree that as Tim's levels of competition has risen, so does his skill? Yeah, mate, I would 100% agree with that. That's what happens with not just probably elite boxers, but elite anyone. As the level of competition rises, the elite, whether it be boxing or soccer, I suppose, or AFL league, whatever it might be, basketball, when the competition rises, the best athletes rise to the occasion with it, and that's when you see them at the best. A lot of times you'll see the elite athletes, whatever sport might be, actually struggle when they go down a level because they get sort of dragged down to other people's levels, whether it be team or opponent, whatever it might be. So I think Tim's one of these guys at the elite level that the better the competition, the better you'll see Tim. And it's no coincidence as the competition has got better over the last 3 or 4 years, Tim has just gotten better each fight. So, yeah, no, I would agree with that, mate. Andy says, I swear like a drunken sailor at times. I'm guilty of that as well, mate. But yes, I don't reckon it's necessary to sell a fight. Do find it crazy, though, that many fans nowadays need drama to get up for a fight. And you shake your head. Yeah, no, I'm with you, mate. Look, we've talked about it on this show before. The real boxing fans like us, we don't need it because we're going to buy it anyway or go watch it, whatever it might be. We're there regardless. And I must admit, as soon as I see that shit starting, I roll the eyes and go, here we go. Let's go. The old checklist is out again. But they're not after us, Andy. They're after the casual fight fan. So the UFC have done it to perfection. So maybe boxing think they have to do that as well. I don't know. But I don't like it. But I respect people that do. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I think. I'm going to buy it anyway. It only matters that those casuals out there, the footy fans, we'll call them, that want to go to these fights, have a few beers, get on it for the day, enjoy a day or night of fights, and that's what they're worried about. Big J says, all these Yank trash talkers got nothing on me. When I get my hands on Ty McAllister, all knockout, you knock out his teeth, give them to the tooth fairy so they can put the cash towards a new pair of dentures. Now, I did say he was up there, Big J, so you obviously didn't see him because you're in Melbourne, of course, but I did say he had the socials going there, which is good. There's a lot more, seems to be a lot more social media reporters out there these days, doesn't it? And that's why, a lot of people have said to me, when I go to all these events and stuff, why don't I try and get the interviews? So why they don't need me? There's like a dozen other Aussie social media reporters out there. I like to cover the event itself and my experience at the event rather than interviewing. Every man and his dog gets interviews these days, so it's not really my cup of tea. But as I said, I like to cover the fights for you guys out there. I mean, geez, Tim Tszyu this week, you could have picked 20 or 30 different interviews that he did. So, what's it matter that I would interview him? So, but as for your mate, Jai McAllister, I did see he had a bit going on. I'm not sure whether you guys are serious or want to get it on at some stage. There's a little bit of this bit of friction between you guys. I'm sure you'll sort it out, though, Big J. Give him a big hug when you see him. Mick Tabor says, I'm sure you'll give you will give to some of the LDBC channels if it does get up. Carl, can you just what does LDBC mean, by the way? Can you enlighten me? Sorry, I'm a little bit out of the dark here. We're in the dark. Serious question from Jules. If Tszyu beats Hogan quicker than Jamal, Tony quicker than Jamal, Ocampo quicker than Spence, gave Gorshay the beating of his career, how far is he from global pound-for-pound rankings? He's one win away from that, Jules, if you ask me. It's beating Charlo. I don't really get into who beat who quicker or easier. I don't get into that, mate, because styles, as I say, makes fights. I'm a big believer in that. So there, looks Tim is a totally different fighter than Jamal. So yeah, I don't sort of read into that, mate. But as I said, if he beats Jamal Charlo for all the belts, for me, he's definitely in the pound for pound top 10 in the world. So Andy says, I'd be seriously impressed if Charlo pulled that off, because seriously doubt that happens. We'll see. Yes, I'm with you there, mate. Jules says, really impressed with Hass Hamden's improvement since Trent Girdham. Credit to the work Jeff has done with him. All right, let's get on to that one. All right, we'll keep the questions coming there, guys, because we'll backtrack over them. All right, the Hass Hamden issue. Now, if you didn't see the fight, I'm assuming most of you guys out there did, but if you didn't see it internationally, fourth round, clash of heads. And I just want to see LDBC equals Lions Den Boxing Club, I'm sure. Okay, all right. So clash of heads, big cut opens on the eyebrow of Hass Hamden. I think there was about 40 or 50 seconds to go in the round. The referee does what the referee is supposed to do, takes him over to see the doctor. The doctor says, "Ooh, that's a bad cut. Going to have to call it off." Meanwhile, Jeff Fennick jumps on the ring apron with his offsider. Jeff's having a fair bit to say. He's saying, give me a look at the cut. I need to, give me an opportunity. The referee at the start saying, Jeff, just stay there. Then, inexplicably, Hass Hamden walks over to the corner, gets a bit, Jeff pats down, or his offsider pats down the cut, has a bit of a look at it. The referee then overrides the doctor, and correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but I'm just going from memory. The referee overrides the doctor and says, no, we're going to let the fight continue. Now, I think very, very well the referee knew it was the fourth round, knew the result was going to be at the end of the round. Of course, that's why Jeff wanted the fight to go. They wanted a result. So the referee has allowed it to continue for the remainder of the round. The bell ends. Hass Hamden goes back to the corner. Jeff has a little bit of a go at patching it up, but it was never going to happen. It just opens right back up, blood everywhere. Jeff looks at the doctor and says, ooh, that's a bad cut. Maybe we should stop it. So, of course, the fight is over. Go to the scorecards, and Hass Hamden wins the fight unanimously. He's won every round, of course. Jeff is interviewed in the ring and says himself, maybe a little bit of Jeff Fennick privileges in there as well. Now, I tried to look the rules up on the ANBF website. They don't have it on there. There's not really much information going on. However, I do know that in the States, and I'm assuming it's the same all over the world, that during the round, if the cornerman jumps up onto, or the chief second climbs up onto the ring apron, let alone another cornerman jumps up on the ring apron, and you can see at one stage Jeff turns around to his offside and says, "It's not allowed, get down." So he jumps down, and nothing to see here, guys, or nothing to see here, folks. So as I said, I've looked this up overseas. If the cornerman or chief second gets up in the ring during the round, which this is during the round, there should have been disqualification. Now, it would have been a bold call to disqualify Hass Hamden. I'm pretty sure it might be up to the referee's discretion. I don't know. However, what should have happened then is as soon as Jeff Fennick jumped on the ring apron, the referee should have looked at Jeff, even though it's Jeff Fennick. Let's not forget. Should have said, Jeff, get down there. I'm going to disqualify your fighter. That's what he should have said straight out. Let the doctor examine the cut, and then should have immediately said, fight over. Why would you call the doctor up to the ring to expect a cut, get his opinion, and say, no, I'm going to disagree with that. I'm going to let the fight go. I don't get it. We've seen a similar thing happen with Michael Zarafa and Jeff Horn. Was it 3 or 4 years ago? Jeff Horn had the massive cut. Zarafa had him in all sorts of trouble. I thought he would have finished the fight had the fight been allowed to continue. The referee says, time out. I'm going to get the doctor to examine the cut, and gave Jeff precious seconds to regather himself. And, of course, we all know what happened after that. But a little bit different, but similar. In this instance, as I said, the referee, in my opinion, blew the whole thing, the whole proceedings. He should have said to Jeff, get down or else I'm going to disqualify you. Then he should have listened to the doctor and stopped the fight. What do you guys think? I'll go back through all right, what do we got there? The comments there. All right, Jules says, why does it always seem like officials don't fully understand the rules in Aussie boxing? Mate, knocked it right on the head. Continuously we have instances, whether it be the main event or undercard fights, where little things like this happen. I don't understand it now. And when you've got Jeff, and you see that smirk he had when he was getting interviewed, the Jeff Fennick privilege, mate, 100% Jeff, you had Jeff Fennick privileges. Because as soon as he went back to the corner, Jeff said, oh, that's a bad cut. We might have to stop the fight. Knowing full well, of course, that the fight's going to get stopped. So, hey, good on Jeff. He did exactly what he needed to do. But, geez, he pulled the Swifty there, didn't he? Look, I will say for one, I'm glad that it actually went to the 4 rounds and we got a decision, because Hassan deserved to win that fight. He was well on top. I know Justin Frost said after the fight that he would have liked to have taken him to deep waters, and maybe that's true. It was only the 4th round, of course. But I am glad that the right person won the fight. Jumping on the ring ropes and saying I'm the man, no, I don't agree with, because, mate, you won by a cut-eye decision. Let's not get too excited. Although, again, I know the adrenaline's pumping and, all the rest of it. And good on Hassan. I think he would have won the fight hands down anyway, but that's besides the point. I think the referee dropped the ball big time. And you're right, Jules. It does seem to happen a lot where the referees don't really know what to do if something untoward like this happens. In the States, you wouldn't see this. They're they know the rules and very, very strict on the rules. And a little bit different over there, I will say. I'm getting a little bit off point here. Over in the States, if you've been there or if you watch carefully over there, they have a team of administrators on the night. So from the combat board or whatever it's called, they have a team of them there. They have a minder in each fighter. So in that instance, the minder would have said to Jeff, get down, you're not allowed to be up there. I'm going to have you disqualified, wherever it might be. We don't obviously have the resources here in Australia for that. As I go out of focus there. Yep, we don't have the resources for that. So I'm not saying that as a fault to the combat board. But at the end of the day, over there is no grey areas. Everyone knows the rules. Everyone abides by the rules, and they enforce the rules. Unless you're Andrew Maloney and you cut the other, you wound the other guy with a jab, and they don't know what the hell's to do in that instance. That's probably the one exception I've ever seen in that case. But normally, very, very to the point, strict, know the rules, and abide by the rules. I'm not sure why we can't get it right here. Do we need more training? Do we need more referees coming through? I think our judging is not too bad. I know there's always a little bit of home cooking, as they say, but it just seems to be the referees sometimes are a little bit confused, whether it's a state-by-state thing, I'm not sure. But Jules, in that instance, 100% right. Yesterday, he either didn't know the rules or he knew the rules and he didn't enforce them. So either way, he needs to be accountable for what happened. Jules, again, says, Jade Mitchell, Max Reeves, TKO, springs to mind. Yeah, well, what's actually happened with that? I must admit, I haven't spoken to Jade since that fight. Now, I'm assuming Max Reeves continues or keeps the TKO. That was probably one instance I thought that, it should have been a no contest. But, I'm not quite sure what's happened there, Jules. Fill me in. Andy says, just goes to show how much pull Jeff Fennick has, to be honest. Hey, he's boxing royalty, Andy. He really is. And look, and Jeff can be very, very intimidating. He's got an aura about him. Of course, he's boxing and everything else, but he's a powerful. I won't say he's a little man because he's not that anymore. But he has got a bit of an aura about him. And Andy, quick story. I remember on one of my shows, Brock Jarvis fought, and the combat board people were late to the weigh-in. He made them apologise to the entire room, boxers, trainers, officials, you name it. He made them stand up in front of the room and apologise to everybody. He wasn't taking any shit. So again, yesterday when he got up and he was very forthright about it. Again, I think he intimidated the referee, who should have stood his ground and said, "Mate, I don't care who you are. This is the rules. This is my judgment." And again, why bring the doctor up onto ringside if you're not going to listen to what he has to say? Maybe make the call internally to say, okay, I might let he would have known there would have been a minute to go or 45 seconds, whatever it is to go in the round. He would have looked up, yep, okay, I'm going to let the round go to its conclusion. Then I'm going to get the doctor up to make a determination on the fight. So I don't know what the hell the referee was thinking altogether, Andy, to be honest. Big J, Philip Holiday should have refed that Frost versus Hamden fight. Would have sort of like he did in 96, but fair decision. I was just going to say that, Big J. Imagine if that had been Philip Holiday as a referee and Jeff Fennick jumps up on the ring. Philip Holiday would have said, hey, in your place. And would have been a bit awkward, I wouldn't have thought. But I wouldn't have thought. If you don't know, Philip Holiday, the referee who was refereeing yesterday but didn't referee that particular fight, stopped Jeff in 2 rounds back in 96 for the IBF lightweight title. All right, Adam, changing the subject again. How are you, mate? Just joined the show. Tim was brilliant again. Bring on cats only. Hey, Big J. We're talking a bit of footy there, are we, Adam? Bring on the cats. Who do you go for, Big J? Are you a league guy? I'm sure. Have I got the wrong person here? Maybe Carl's the one that normally gives me a bit of shit about the league. All right. Continuing on there. All right. Okay, the other fights on the card, before we get any more comments coming through, let you guys comment about the cats and everything in there. The other fights on the card. So we've gone over, of course, Tim and Carlos Ocampo. Sam Goodman against Rees Alim. So that was for the IBF Super Bantamweight Eliminator. Can't wait to see Sam get his shot later in the year. I know he wants to do it in Wollongong, which would be great. Another great place to do it in Australia, of course. We've spoken about Hassan Hamden and Justin Frost, of course. Rocky Ogden, Mark Schleaves. The other kid on the card, Vegas Larfield. I think we quickly mentioned him earlier. Went to 9-0 against Junriel Castino, 13-3. I'm pretty sure, is it Vegas? I know he's trained by Benny Harrington, doing great things with his fighters, of course, with Liam Wilson as well. Is he managed by Tony Tolge, or did he just go over and help the twins out for the training camp? I'm not quite sure. But great young talent. Only a kid. As I said, 9-0. I'd give him another 10 fights before I even considered stepping him up, to be honest. He's 19, 20, whatever he is. Let's get 15 to 20 fights under his belt and then see what he's got. The other one, 2 fights on the undercard. Troy Pilcher with that first round knockout of Hazley Heppy. Now, is he a YouTuber or TikToker or YouTuber? I say YouTuber, TikToker, whatever the hell they are these days. Great walkout, I will say. With the haka and all that sort of stuff. Not quite sure it ended the way he wanted either, too, by the way, with the first round knockout. So he drops to 6-2-1. Troy Pilcher 6-0-1. That was for the Queensland heavyweight title. And Liam Taliva looks pretty good, does Liam Taliva, who moved to 5-0 with a first round knockout of Isaac Licky, who was making his debut, falls to 0-1. So, yeah, look, I didn't mind the card, I will say. I thought it wasn't too bad. For $60, I know there's a lot of people that didn't think that way, but look, I thought it was okay. Just my opinion. James Daly says that the ref turned that fight farcical. Yeah, he did, James. As I said before, what was he thinking? I still don't understand why he would call the doc up and then why he wouldn't wait to the end of the round and why he would listen to the cornerman about making a judgment on the fight. I think we all know. I think the referee, like Jeff did and whoever the support, they wanted a result and they got it. So Jules says, I believe Jade Mitchell was protesting the decision, but BoxRec still reads lost by TKO. Yeah, I'll have to give Jade a call and see what's happening there, because I'm not quite sure what the official result. Well, it's been a while, Jules. If it's still on BoxRec as lost by TKO, and there certainly hasn't been anything on Jade's social media or anything like that. So maybe it has been upheld. I mean, you talked to Will Tomlinson. He said it was definitely a punch. I still think it was a butt, an accidental butt, by the way. But don't know. What do you think Liam Talia's ceiling is? Liam, Jules, it's hard to say at this stage, mate. Look, he looked really good yesterday, but let's face it, he didn't really beat much. With all due respect to Isaac Leakey making his debut, definitely got potential there. Was he trained by Tony Vecchio? I think it is. Yeah, look, I can't make a judgment at the moment, mate, because he just, as I said, he just hasn't fought anybody. He probably needs another 5, 6, 7 fights at heavyweight. You know, probably some good guys out there who could fight to test him, but yeah, I'll reserve judgment until I see a little bit more of his repertoire, Jules. All right, while we're going there, I'm going to keep the questions going. Sort of about 15 minutes to go. I'm going to bring up my new updated top 10 Aussie ranking. Come at me if you will. Hang on, there's Dan there. Vegas Life will definitely talent, but it's horrible defense. Yeah, he needs to work on that, Dan, I will admit. But look, he's only a kid. I'm sure, like Tim Tszyu, that his team would be looking at this. He did get, I thought, hit with a lot of unnecessary punches yesterday, but this is why you bring over guys like him, Dan, like Castino. Good, tough, durable guys who are going to give Vegas rounds. Don't just bring over these guys and they get wiped out in 1 or 2 rounds. It means nothing, and he learns nothing out of it. So I would think bringing this Castino over, really good opponent for Vegas. I do agree, he did get hit with a lot of unnecessary shots, but I'm sure they'll work on it now and keep just stepping up bit by bit by bit. And remember, Tim's defense wasn't overly great early in his career either, but he worked at it. Learnt by getting better fights, obviously learning by video and sparring and all the rest of it, and is made those adjustments now. And I'm sure Benny Harrington's a very, very good trainer, so I'm sure they're already working on that at the moment, Dan. But yeah, good point. Let's get into my updated top 10. Let's have a look. See what you think. All right, number 1, Tim Tszyu really just reaffirms. I had him number 1 before this fight yesterday. Reaffirms what my rating of him before, and now I think it's beyond question. Yes, it's not the real belt yet, it's the interim belt, but good enough for me. I think Tim Tszyu is our number 1 fighter in Australia, pound for pound, so not even a question. If you ask me, I know a lot of you guys out there might have Jai or Jason or even George still at number 1, but for me, Tim Tszyu every day of the week. I've got Jai Pataya at number 2. You could make a point for Jason Maloney, but I just think Jai Pataya just a little bit above Jason at the moment, although he has been inactive, so he better get something organised. He did that Mastanak thing, really didn't make sense to me either, why he would forego a shot at Jai. Well, it does probably make sense because he probably knows what's going to happen. But so there he is, Jai Pataya number 2, Jason Maloney number 3. I've got George Kambosos at number 4. I don't think even if he beats Maxi Hughes next month that he'll go above Jason. I think it's going to take him winning another version. I know the IBO is a virgin, but it's not. It's if he wins the IBF belt, if Haney vacates, then we might have another discussion. But for me at the moment, George Kambosos number 4. Look, I've kept Andrew Maloney at number 5. Besides Sam Goodman, no one has really done anything to go past Andrew Maloney. And look, my thing with Sam Goodman, I know someone said earlier, I think it might have been James, about maybe Sam Goodman going to number 5. As good as his win was yesterday, I still don't think his resume stacks up anywhere near Andrew Maloney's. That will definitely change if he wins the IBF belt, of course, against Marlon Tapales. We could make an argument that he jumps right up to number 4. Or even 3, or 2, whatever. I don't think he's a chance of going past Tim, but he's definitely in the mix. So that's why I didn't put him at number 5 there, James, I think said before. So Andrew Maloney for me still stays at number 5. Liam Paro, number 6. I was this close to putting Sam Goodman above Liam Paro. Liam's obviously been out for quite some time, being injured. He did have that, of course, that WBC shot that he had to pull out from against Regis Prograis yesterday. But just by the skin of his teeth, I'm going to leave Liam Paro at number 6 and elevate Sam Goodman to number 7 with a bullet. And we've got some real conversations to have later in the year. If Liam Paro wins and Sam Goodman wins, they'll obviously both probably go past Andrew, unless he springs back up with another big win as well. So isn't that great that the top, well, I've always said it's the top 5 and then there's daylight. Now that daylight has now started to close. And there's a little bit of hope there for Liam and Sam and even Michael Zarafa. Liam Wilson, if he gets that shot really down the track. So then you can see there, Michael Zarafa, number 8, just not active enough for me. And turning down 2 world title shots, I still don't understand it, although I'm the one that might have egg on my face down the track if he fights for it and wins it, of course. But for me at the moment, number 8, Liam Wilson, number 9, and Stevie Spark. Look, I've put Stevie Spark back in at number 10. If you remember last time, I think I had Justice Honey at either 9 or 10. I did have a few people say, how could you have a fighter that's only had 6 fights in there? I still stand by the fact that I think if you go by pure ability, Justice Honey for me is in the top 5 or 6 fighters, and I would almost throw Alex Winwood in there as well, but you've got to go by body of work. Put him in there because even though he didn't win his last fight, I think he was robbed 100%. I think he won that fight hands down. And Justice now has been inactive for a little while. He's injured. Who knows when he's going to be back. So I've put Stevie Spark back in at number 10. So for those listening on Spotify that didn't hear me go through it before, Tim Tszyu at number 1, Jai Patai at number 2, Jason Maloney at number 3, 4 is George Kambosos Jr., 5 is Andrew Maloney, 6 is Liam Paro, 7 is Sam Goodman, 8 is Michael Zarafa, 9 is Liam Wilson, 10 is Stevie Spark. You could maybe make a case for a Dempsey McKean, maybe. But apart from him, I really don't see how you could have anyone else in there. I think Nikita Tszyu will be there within sort of 12 months. Alex Winwood might be there within 12 months. So Justice Honey definitely should be there within 12 months. So some really good young fighters coming through. And who knows, maybe we'll have a Vegas Larfield or a Rocky Ogden or Hassan Hamden at some stage making waves as well. Thanks, Jules. Yep, Stevie Spark is in number 10. Big J, really disappointing for Paro this weekend. He would have beaten Prograis and become number 2. I agree. I only saw highlights of the fight, though, I will say. Big J, I didn't watch the fight in its entirety. But from what I've seen in the highlights, Liam Paro would have been a big chance to win that fight. So, look, he'll get his chance, and I'm sure he'll make good of it. But at the moment, he's going to have to wait his turn. I'm not quite sure what the ratings are at this stage. I think we went through it last week, that now he's not ranked in the top 15 of anybody. The WBO dropped him when he was going to fight for the WBC belt. And then when he pulled out, he was out of their rankings as well. Now he's not ranked by anyone. So hopefully that will change. I'm sure it will. They'll be recalibrating the rankings for this month, and I'm sure you'll be in there somewhere. Jules. For your information, Tim Tszyu moved up to number 2 super welterweight on BoxRec, and Sergey Vorobev is number 2 super welterweight in Australia. Who? Let me have a look. I've got the ratings up there. Let's have a quick look. I'll bring you guys in on this. You guys can have a look at what I'm seeing here. I'll just get your... Now, where are we? Where'd you say? Super welterweight. Number 2 super... Oh, is that on BoxRec? Okay, sorry. I'm looking at... Mate, I don't even pretend to understand the rankings these days, especially when they do the pound for pound and all that sort of stuff. I've got that there now. How do we do this? Let me know here, mate, because I'm going to do male, pound for pound. Hang on. Is that for everybody? Let's do Australia. Hang on. All right, guys, let's have a look. All right, all right, is this the rankings, is it? No, that can't be. No. Can't be. Come on. No, that's why I don't rate BoxRec at all, James. Come on. George Kambosos 1, Sam Goodman number 2, Jason 3, Tim 4, Stevie Spark number 5. Are you kidding me? Above Jai Pattaya, Liam Wilson 7, Michael Zarafa 8, Liam Paro 9, Andrew Maloney 10, and then who the hell? 14, Sergey Vorobev. No, that's got to be a typo, doesn't it? Let's have a look. Nah, well, that's obviously that's why you don't trust algorithms, James, because look what they've done. The guys, although he says he lives in Australia. Well, he's at every single fight except that one there. Where was that one? Is that, I don't know, somewhere outside. So every fight bar one has been in Russia. And it says his nationality is Australian, birthplace Russia. Now, am I missing something there, guys? Surely that's just got to be something wrong with the algorithm. But going back, hang on, let's go back. Look, with all due respect, I'm sure Sam Goodman would be embarrassed by that, to be in front of Jason Maloney, Tim Tszyu, and Jai Apataya. That's why I don't trust it, James. Oh, jeez. Jules H says, I think BoxRec top 10 is identical to your top 10, Lyndon, just in a different order. Okay, let's have a look. Yes, George, yes. Sam Goodman, yes. Jason Maloney, yes. Tim Tszyu, yes. Stevie Spark, yes. Joe Patai, yes. Liam Wilson, yes. Marcus Zarafi, yes. Liam Paro, yes. Andrew Maloney, yes. Well, at least they got something right there, mate. But the order for them is totally wrong. Jesus, how can you? I don't get that. But anyway, that's just ridiculous. All right, well, there it is, guys. Have we got any more questions before we finish for the night? We will. I think I haven't done it for the last few weeks, but we'll start putting the link back in if you guys want to come on for a chat. As I said, I haven't done it for a while. I'm actually going to maybe every now and then get a guest panelist on as well. I know we all like to do this one-on-one, but wouldn't mind even throwing an interview or something in there with some of the boxes out there. What do you think? Or are you happy with the format as is, where it's just us? Maybe I can do some standalone interviews with some fighters, because as I said, I don't like to do it with all the other social media sites out there, but I do like to do them maybe on the side in just a one-on-one situation. So we'll see if we can get a few more of those up. All right, guys. Well, I think that's about it for this show. We'll finish up now, about 5 minutes early, but it doesn't look like there's anything more to discuss. As I said earlier, check out the What's Your Verdict, Canelo and Triple G1. Give me your suggestions for some other classic, some controversial fights for What's Your Verdict. And also some dream fights. Jules says, let's get Sergey on the show so we can get to the bottom of this. We might have to get him on. We might have to get someone on there to translate for us, I reckon. But it's got to be a typo. But anyway, it is what it is. All right, guys. Thanks again for tuning in. Very, very much appreciated. And until next week, actually, see us on Thursday with the Boxing Deep Dive show. But for Talking Boxing, we'll see you next Monday night. Have a good week.